Alright guys, so your fellow Gen Z Brit. Born in 2000, going to be checking out Illegal now, but normal in the 1970s. Of course, I love going back into the good old days and checking out what life was like, you know, when TV screens were still probably in black and white and they look like microwaves. I may come across one or two here that I might be somewhat familiar with, but obviously haven't looked at it from haven't done more of these videos. It'll be interesting to kind of see like how I view it now. Because, yo, some of these are crazy. And I already know we're going to come across some mad ones in this. At least for me. For you guys, probably be normal. Speaking of which, guys, I'm doing some bonus content on the Patreon for those guys that aren't aware. Posting new movie reactions, album reviews, and sitcom reviews every week. I've got, at the moment, around 50 plus exclusive bits of content on there at the moment. So if you guys are interested in getting that extra dose of nostalgia, as well as Gen Z perspective on a lot of these classics that I'm showing you guys on the screen, and I'll definitely recommend checking out the Patreon, linked in the description below. Of course, it'll be great to support the channel, guys, if you love my content. But of course, guys, look, with all that good stuff being said, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well as turn on post notifications so you don't miss none of these videos, and like the video so I know you guys want to see more. Let's get these videos pushing the algorithm. Road to 60k on the way. But guys, look, with that being said, let's get straight into the video. Let's go.
The 1970s was a completely different time. We had less rules to follow, and that meant life was a bit more risky. Things that seemed completely normal have over time become outlawed. So let's take a look back at all the things we did back in the 1970s
used to drink from the hose back
that are now illegal.
Crazy to think about. Never me drinking out of a hose, man.
Back in the day, kids used railroad tracks as an extension of the playground. Walking along the rails, trying to keep their balance, or using the tracks as a shortcut to school was just part of growing up. Some would place pennies on the rails to see them get flattened, while others dared each other to cross a trestle before a train came through. You could always count on waving to the engineers and covering your ears as a train horn blasted. Today, that kind of fun is strictly off limits. Railroad companies crack down hard on trespassing, and for a good reason. But for those who remember, it was a great adventure that added to your childhood.
No, the fact that that's like a norm back then just sums up just how different things are. Because look at that. You got some kid in the background almost kind of doing the splits on the track, man. Like, I even got to be careful what I show on YouTube these days. This is how much times have changed. Because if I show too much, I might even get another warning and get my channel strikes like I almost did last time. Just because I was showing literally what was happening back in the good old days. But, mate, this is crazy to think about. And, yeah, definitely you can't do anything like this today. And I don't even think you'll be able to get away with it. And especially not in the UK with electric currents running through some of these rails and stuff. Like, you could even cease to exist if you're not careful.
Remember, it was a great adventure that added to your childhood.
We're already starting off crazy, man.
In the 1970s, a health scare over red dye number 2 led to the Mars company pulling red M&Ms from production, despite the fact that M&Ms never actually used that dye to begin with. It didn't matter though. Public concern was high enough that red M&Ms disappeared over the decade. Meanwhile, people were still eating plenty of other foods that contained red dye number 2, like certain soft drinks and certain cereals, before the FDA officially banned it in 1976. By the time red M&Ms made a comeback in 1987, the perception of red color in foods had shifted back to being safe. At least we hope. 70s, pajamas, furniture, and even baby clothes were loaded with flame retardants to prevent fires. At the time, it seemed like a great idea. Who wouldn't want some extra protection? But it turned out that these chemicals were being absorbed into our skin and were linked to serious health risks. It wasn't just clothing either. Old couches from that era still contain high levels of these now banned chemicals. Even though they meant well, the addition of flame retardants proved that sometimes safety measures may deliver an even worse outcome.
Oh, that's just so ironic. You're putting products in these like pajamas, these clothes to just help it to prevent it from catching on fire, which I don't know why that would be like a concern. Like, why would you really be concerned about your clothes catching on fire? Was that like a big concern? I don't know, but I mean, for them to be putting it in some of these pajamas, like what is this pajama, man? If any of you guys wore this, like this just looks like a detective's waistcoat, you know what I'm saying, / PJs in one, and that's just funny to me. Interesting pajamas as well.
Believe it or not, there was a time when a kid could walk into a store, hand the cashier a note from their parents, and buy a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, this is crazy. I still couldn't believe that.
Some kids didn't even need a note. The clerk just knew it was for mom or dad. It wasn't unusual for kids to grab a pack of smokes right alongside a candy bar and a bottle of Coke. Even cigarette vending machines were everywhere, in restaurants, bowling alleys, even gas stations. Today, that sounds completely crazy, but back then, it was just another errand to take care of for mom or dad.
That is crazy. Yeah, and you guys have told me how true that was. Again, times have changed. Vending machines for cigarettes is insane to think about. Like, on my insane counter, that would be like a 10 out of 10 insanity levels. If someone told me that this was the norm, I'll look at you and go, wow, like, just crazy. Because I don't know how harmful cigarettes are, just how you're a kid and could just go get it. Like,
if you grew up in the 70s, you probably remember clackers, the toy that was as fun as it was dangerous. These two acrylic balls on a string would make a loud clack as you swung them together, and the goal was to keep them going as fast and as long as possible. The problem was, if you weren't careful, they could smack you in the face, or even worse, shatter into sharp pieces. Schools eventually banned them, but that didn't stop kids from sneaking them around. Because let's face it, once clackers were forbidden, kids wanted them even more.
You know, clackers is like one of those like toys that would only be popular like in the 70s or like 80s. You know what I'm saying? Before the internet, at least. Because kids nowadays, what's fun for them is going on their phone or the iPads, right? Like, you just won't really see kids like that playing with something like this. I feel like you give that to a kid now. Do you know, maybe they'll find it fun. I don't know. Maybe not. Let me not knock it because I've never tried it. I would love to try it though. I want to just see kind of what was the kind of awe about it. Like, what was the big deal? Because it just seemed like two balls on a string.
Cyclamates were a popular artificial sweetener found in diet sodas and low-calorie foods, but it took until 1970 for them to be banned. Scientists claimed they could cause cancer, though later studies questioned whether the risk was really as bad as originally thought. Before the ban, sodas like Tab used cyclamates to get that sweet taste, but after they were pulled, the companies had to switch to saccharin. Strangely enough, many other countries never banned the substance and still allow them today.
Something you put in your drink?
Don't settle for some of the taste, some of the time.
In the 1970s, cigarette ads were everywhere, on TV, in magazines, and plastered across billboards. The Marlboro Man, Joe Camel, and catchy slogans like "Winston tastes good like a cigarette should" made smoking look like the ultimate cool factor. But by 1971, the US had banned cigarette ads on TV and radio, forcing tobacco companies to get creative with their marketing. They shifted to print ads, sports sponsorships, and even product placements in movies. Even though these ads are long gone.
How are you getting cigarette companies sponsoring sports? Isn't that just so counterproductive? Like, so backwards. It's just like, you know, sports companies be promoting McDonald's like that I see nowadays. I'm just like, or people that are like sports personalities, like athletes promoting these junk foods. Like, I don't get it. Like, surely that's just a money grab.
Sponsorships and even product placements in movies. Even though these ads are long gone from the airwaves, their influence on generations of smokers is still undeniable. If you flew on an airplane during the 70s, you'll remember that a smoke-filled cabin was just part of the experience. The armrest ashtrays were in full use, and even though there were designated smoking and non-smoking sections, the smoke didn't exactly stay put. Flight attendants dealt with clouds of smoke, and non-smoking passengers just put up with it. The smoking ban on airplanes started small, with it being phased out on domestic flights shorter than 2 hours in 1988, before it was completely prohibited in 2000. Now lighting up on a plane is unthinkable, but those old no smoking signs are a reminder of how different things used to be.
Like, I can't even conceptualize what it would have been like to smoke on a plane, because I always see the seatbelt sign, like the no smoking sign, like, and then turn off your electricity and stuff like that, turn off your phone sign, all of that stuff. But to see people, like, to imagine that is just insane to me. Smoke in the air, even just you can get that secondhand smoke as well if you're not smoking, and you got ashtrays and like on your arm, like what? And then it's like if you have asthma or something, you're just done. You won't survive. You just won't survive. It's insane.
Those smoking signs are a reminder of how different things used to be. Lead-based
circulating,
paint
man.
was on just every surface in the
This is already
70s,
making my skin
on walls,
crawl.
toys, and even cribs. It made colors more vibrant, and the paint lasted longer, and nobody thought twice about small children chewing on those lead-covered toys. When the serious health risks became undeniable, lead paint was finally banned in 1978, but many homes built before then still contained lead paint. Removing or mitigating it was expensive, and to this day, people still have to be cautious when renovating older homes. It's crazy to think that something so common turned out to be such a hazard.
Lead poison is
lawn darts.
Wow, like that's just insane, man. And considering how common it was to have lead painted walls, yeah, that's just the lead can. There's so many ways lead can be bad for you, man. And it's just wow. This is just. Then again, this is almost kind of like I guess lack of awareness for stuff like this. It makes me deep. All the precautions we have now is probably like as a result of some sort of trial and error. Like you've tried it, realized it didn't work, and then boom, now we have this whole restriction. Kind of makes me look at things differently now.
Such a hazard.
Makes me wonder how many
lawn darts seemed like good innocent backyard
now.
Fun until you realized they could cause serious injuries if they hit someone.
Darts.
These heavy metal-tipped darts that were meant to pierce the ground caused several bad accidents, including a few fatalities. That's when parents started demanding they be banned. By the mid-1980s, they were pulled from store shelves, although many people held on to their original sets. The modern version of the game is much safer, but let's be honest, the thrill of playing lawn darts was really about dodging death.
Dodging death,
For kids growing up in the 70s,
no wonder.
Candy cigarettes were the ultimate way to feel grown up. They came in packs.
Yeah, and from what I heard as well, long darts is a very popular game back in the good old days, man. And yeah, just looking at that, it's just mad, man. You guys are built different,
about
man.
dodging death.
Built different.
For kids growing up in the 70s, candy cigarettes were the ultimate way to feel grown up. They came in packs that looked just like real cigarette brands. And some even had a powdered sugar coating that let you puff out fake smoke. Parents didn't think much of it, even though they were basically encouraging smoking with fun and delicious candy. Eventually, concerns over promoting smoking led to bans in many places, and the packaging for candy cigarettes had to change drastically. They could no longer mimic real tobacco packs, and the word cigarettes was removed altogether.
So much you could get away with so much back in the day.
Back in the 70s, every gas station pumped leaded gasoline, and no one batted an eye. It helped cars run smoother and prevented engine knocking. But in reality, it was polluting the air and causing serious health issues. Studies linked lead exposure to developmental problems in kids, leading to a slow phase-out that started in the mid-70s. By the 1990s, leaded gas was mostly gone, and today it's hard to imagine we used to willingly pump a neurotoxin into the air. It's just another example of how times have changed.
Like, genuinely makes me wonder how, for those of you guys that have made it to this point, you guys are genuinely survivors. Genuinely. Like, all of these things that existed, it's like, wow. Like, how you got away with this is insane. So many ways.
Believe it or not, some high schools actually had designated smoking areas for students in the 1970s. It wasn't just the kids either. Teachers were puffing away in the teachers' lounge, and sometimes even in the classroom. It was quite common to see students lining up along a smoking wall and lighting up in between classes. By the late 80s, the smoking areas started disappearing. But for many years, smoking at school was part of the daily routine. Today, the idea of a high school smoking section seems almost unbelievable.
Genuinely. And I came across this like in a vlog that I did, and some of you guys are telling me that this was a thing. Honestly speaking, like when I think of 70s, just the way smoking had a chokehold on that time period is crazy. Like in adverts, commercials in the day-to-day norms, you got the like kind of kid candies that are related around it, like themed in that sense. In the vending, it's like everywhere. You can't escape it. Like it's just it's like almost literally like vaping nowadays. It's like, at least in the UK, vaping is so many people vape nowadays. And I don't personally do smoke at all. Never smoked cigarette in my life, and I already got asthma to even be considered about. So. Or concerned about. So just to imagine me in the 70s again, I don't think I would personally survive.
The smoking section seems almost unbelievable. The original Easy Bake Oven was every little girl's dream toy, because they could bake real tiny cakes. The only problem, the incandescent bulbs that did the cooking got seriously hot enough to cause burns or even melt the plastic on some models.
Toys, man.
After a while, safety concerns led to many redesigns, and modern versions shifted to a safer heating element. But for those who remember the original, there was something magical about making your own little cakes under the glow of a 100-watt bulb. It might not meet today's safety standards, but it sure made childhood sweeter.
I don't understand how someone wouldn't just think, like, surely having this as a kid's toy where the temperatures can go so high, that's just not a good idea. I don't know how that's gone through some sort of checks, but by the sounds of it, didn't sound like there were checks. Like, people were just making what toys they thought, oh, let's make a little mini version of an oven, but like it's basically an oven, realistically. You can burn plastic in it and just sell it as like a kid's toy. Do you know what I'm saying? Kids' toys back then just literally seemed like mini versions of the real thing. Just, wow. Smaller size versions of it. It's just insane to think about, man. But yeah, look, I'd love to know how this one resonated with you guys, of course. Were you guys familiar, like, did you guys ever come into contact with a lot of these things? Like, was this something that was in your day-to-day lives quite often? Were you guys big on smoking? Were you one of those that thought smoking was cool? Was it that, you was playing with these lawn darts? How true was this for you, basically? I would love to know in the conversation below. And let me know if there's any parts in here that you could elaborate on. Maybe I might have misunderstood. Maybe it was not as bad as I'm thinking it was. Or maybe it was worse. Was this video even sugarcoating things? You guys let me know. Of course, it made this point. My real ones will always make it through the end of the video. Shout out to you guys. Look, comment down a blue heart so I know who my real ones are who made this point in the video. Of course, if you want to see more of these kinds of videos from me, I've got playlists at the end of the video, as well as some other videos you can check out. But yeah, guys, look, with that being said, I'm your boy JayFlex, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.